West Virginia looking to add a couple of midseason pieces to their basketball roster. And me and Paul are going to talk about that right after this word from our sponsor.
This episode of Hoops from the Hills is brought to you by Dutch Miller Automotive, where friends and family pricing means you get the best deal right up front on any new or pre-loved vehicle in stock every time.
With brands like Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Kia, Hyundai, Ford, GMC, Buick, and Subaru, the Dutch Miller Automotive family is always growing and ready to put you in the car or truck you've been searching for.
Check out our inventory across West Virginia at DutchMillerAuto.com, or you can come in today to the home of friends and family pricing, only at a Dutch Miller Automotive store near you.
What is up, guys? It's Couz and my guy,
Mountaineer Paul.
And we present to you another episode of
Hoops from the Hills, baby.
We're here to talk to you today about the pieces that West Virginia basketball and Coach Josh Allard are looking to potentially add mid-season. A couple different storylines here. Number one, we've got the Raequan Battle situation. There's news about that to talk about. Two, there is a superstar player they're looking to add potentially mid-season here that may have fallen in their lap, but it's going to be some tough competition. And then a third, somewhat of a storyline, is that they're going to add somebody at some point on this team, okay? So first let's talk about the Raequan Battle situation. Two different lawsuits have now been filed. You've got Patrick Morrissey, the Attorney General of West Virginia, joining forces with the Attorney General from Ohio and I think 5 or 6 other attorneys general, I guess is the proper way to say it, throughout the country to file this suit and try to get an injunction basically to stop or to basically permit all transfers to play until they get through this court case. And then the case, obviously, there's a lot of details to it that we'll go over, but and then also Raequan Battle and his attorneys have now filed a suit themselves against the NCAA. So they're coming at the NCAA with both barrels here, from not only Raequan's side but also from the Attorney General's side. Paul, before we get into the nuts and bolts of this, of the details of this thing, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, as you know, I talked to Stephen Ford from Country Roads Trust yesterday, and I've been talking to a lot of people, here since yesterday. And there's a lot of people in the know, a lot further on in the know than you and I are, people that we go to, that are confident this thing's going to happen with Raequan Battle. I mean, they have basically, the NCAA's got to cave at some point, or it's going to court. And there's no in between, So I think it's like this. I mean, it's almost a form of blackmail. It's not, but it's kind of how this is how blackmail works. Like basically, if you don't do what I need you to do, these are the consequences. And you do what I say, we'll leave it alone. And I think there are 2 other players that have been mentioned alongside Raequan, but he's basically the story. So there's a lot of talk about it. Mike Ostie made a prediction not just a few minutes ago, saying that he predicts it's going to happen. And, I don't think Mike is the kind of guy that would put his neck out there without knowing something or feeling led one way or the other. So that's number one. Now, when you get into the Nae'qwan Tomlin part of this thing, I think you and I both know that I at this point, I wouldn't say it's likely to happen, but I would say it could happen. I'd say it's probably 50-50 at best, and I think that's just being transparent and honest with everybody. Right. No reason to sell dreams, but there's a shot. There are connections to certain players on the team. Couz had confirmed to me earlier. It was a cook, correct?
When I wasn't confirming it, I was just guessing.
Guessing, okay.
I'm trying to figure out who it could be.
But when you break down when you break down Nae'qwan Tomlin on the floor, think Kevin Durant without the jump shot. And that's similar to the type of player he is. He's a 6'10" wing, basically. that is an incredible shot blocker and defender, that can drive, and he's got extreme handles. You know how Anthony Davis of Kentucky, they always praise him for his ball handling skills because he grew 10 inches basically in the span of a year, and was a guard his entire life. So this is similar to Nae'qwan Tomlin. Very, very tall, lanky, long guy, and is just really good at everything. And he played on an Elite 8 team last year, so he's got experience. You put him in the lineup with this squad, with who possibly could return. If you can sell him on the potential of this team and not the record, I think you got something. There are other things that you got to worry about, Couz, as far as do the credits transfer. There are always going to be those kind of concerns. And in the article that that Keenan Cummings released earlier, he quoted Josh Eilert. Josh Eilert said, listen, at this point in the year, nobody's available because they're perfect. You know, there's always going to be, nobody's completely shiny. There are going to be deficiencies with everybody that you add. Bottom line, can they help? And that's what West Virginia is looking to do, is find anybody that can help, so this coaching staff can coach beyond 2023.
Right, exactly. And first off, Ethan Bach has put tweets. Ethan Bach's been a busy guy today. He's put out several tweets today about all these topics, or a couple of these anyway. Here's the one he put out about Nae'qwan. But first I want to talk about the Raequan Battle situation. Obviously, I said, Raequan Battle versus NCAA is one. Ethan talks about here, it's a separate complaint from the multi-state complaint against the NCAA from yesterday, which is the one I mentioned with Patrick Morrissey and the other attorneys general from other states. And what I'm going to do now is pull up a tweet from Morrissey talking about the situation where he's filing lawsuit. And here it says, today in a lawsuit led by Ohio and filed in the Northern District of West Virginia, I joined with 6 other states to sue the NCAA over their transfer rule. The complaint alleges the NCAA restrains athletes from marketing their labor and is in violation of the Sherman Act. In our complaint, we discuss the arbitrary and inappropriate way the NCAA has treated Raequan Battle and other athletes. Every athlete must be treated fairly, and no organization is above the law. I'm pleased to join this bipartisan effort and believe the law is on our side. It's time for change to come to the NCAA. In a separate filing, we are asking the court for a temporary restraining order against the NCAA to bar them from enforcing their transfer rule. And that's what I mentioned earlier. I call it an injunction. I guess technically it's a restraining order, but basically they're going to say, hey, until you need to stop enforcing these rules until we get through this case and prove that these rules are actually legal. And if that happens, not only will Raequan Battle get approved, but pretty much every transfer that's not been approved will be on the court this year. And
including Noah Farrakhan.
Potentially Noah Farrakhan. Exactly. And for those of you who don't know, the Sherman Act is basically antitrust law. It's basically saying you can't be a monopoly. You can't prevent competition. And according to Morrissey and the others in this lawsuit, they're saying, hey, the NCAA is basically monopolizing the sport of college basketball or college athletics as a whole, maybe. And they're preventing these players from capitalizing on their name, image, and likeness. And it's basically an antitrust violation. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And then I mentioned earlier, Mitt Winter put out this earlier today. The NCAA has been sued again. Raequan Battle filed a complaint relating to denial of his transfer waiver. The most interesting of the 12 counts is that the NCAA tortiously interfered with his NIL agreement with Collective Country Roads Trust. And here's the document, basically. But there's no reason for me to go through all of this, but basically it just explains that in this document. It's a bunch of legal jargon that most of us don't understand anyway, including myself. But basically, yeah, he's accusing them of tortiously interfering with his ability to make NIL money because, obviously, if he's not playing, it makes him less valuable, which means he can't make as much money through NIL, which kind of ties into the other lawsuit, right? Saying, hey, you're preventing these young men from making NIL money, which is a violation of the Sherman Act, according to the lawsuit filed by the attorneys general. So interesting stuff here, man. And with all this pressure applied to the NCAA, it'll be shocking to me. I don't want to say shocking, but I'd be surprised if they don't eventually cave and let Raequan play. What do you think?
Yeah, I think sooner rather than later is what West Virginia is pressing for. As you can see, they're really turning the screws here.
Yeah.
So I mean, if this doesn't work, nothing will. Nothing outside of going to court and getting it done, which obviously we know what can't be done before the season's over anyway. Josh Allen's already been on record said, "Hey, there are agents at work here trying to pull Raequan Battle away from us." Stephen Ford told me to my face yesterday he's a draft pick. So this is a we're talking about a top 7-8 player in the Big 12 guys. This is a really good player. I know we haven't seen him play for us yet this year. We don't know how he'll mesh with us. But what I do know is that he put up big numbers in the tournament. Obviously, he sprayed Kansas State for, what was it, 37? Something like
27.
that, 27, 30, yeah. 27. He's capable of putting up big numbers against good competition. And he's just now put it all together at this point in his career. So, obviously, it's big news for us. We need more than just Raequan, obviously. But the combination of he and Kerr could be very intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
Very intriguing. So, with just imagine that. Imagine those three. You got Raequan. You've got sorry, not Trey. I want to say Trey for some reason. Slazinski at the 3, mm-hmm. who can very well play the 3 at this point. We've seen it, and Kerr, and that's a formidable group of guard/forwards there.
Yeah.
So I think it would get exciting if a Cook comes all the way back along with Jesse. Then you're talking about something on the starting end. If Nae'qwan Tomlin comes, you're talking about one of the best starting fives in the country, and there's no debate. Yeah. So obviously, this is all we would have to have everything fall our way, and wouldn't it just be poetic justice for this to happen for us? All these things, it looks like we're going to have this horrible season. We got people trolling us 2 days later after the game's over with. And then all of a sudden we have this breakout into the season. Maybe this team scrapes into the tournament and just blazes through. That would be something crazy. Love to see it. I would love to see it. I would pay to see it. It would make me extremely happy too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a good segue, by the way. You mentioned Tomlin.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a look at Ethan's tweet about him. West Virginia has contacted K-State transfer forward Nae'qwan Tomlin. Tomlin, 6'10", entered the portal today after his dismissal from Kansas State University. Tomlin averaged 10.4 points and 5.9 rebounds as a starter on an Elite 8 team. Will be immediately eligible for the spring. Now, for those of you who may not know the story, Nae'qwan Tomlin was a Kansas State player, best player on the team. John Kurtz, I heard him say it on his show the other night. It's not even questionable. He's the best player. He was suspended temporarily or indefinitely, I guess was the word they used, for getting in a bar fight, I guess prior to the season or maybe right at the beginning of the season. He was suspended indefinitely. He was still on the team. It's my understanding he was even still sitting on the bench with the team the last couple of games. Well, all of a sudden, the AD comes out a couple of days ago and puts out this big announcement saying that Nae'qwan would not be allowed back with the team. He was basically off the team at that point. People at Kansas State are all upset about it. They're blaming the school president, saying it was his decision to do this, that actually Jerome Tang wanted to bring him back on the team. It's a big controversial issue in Manhattan, Kansas. But the young man graduates after this semester, is my understanding, which makes him a grad transfer, which means he would be immediately eligible to play. Now, West Virginia is obviously not the only team that's after him. There are a lot of other teams, some of the best teams in the country, that want this young man on their roster. But West Virginia, is my understanding, is putting on the full court press to try to get him. I feel like we got a good chance of getting him. I'd say, like you said, I'm probably 50-50 on it at this point. But I do at least feel good that we're in the hunt and have a chance to get this young man on the team.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Oh, no doubt. I'm with you. 100%. I think, if not him, we'll add somebody else. There's not going to be anybody with this kind of impact left out there. But, we're doing what we can, guys, as far as Stephen Ford, Jay Coons, Josh Eiler, those guys are doing all they can. Um, it's just really, I think what you sell Nae'qwan Tomlin on is, listen, man, you can come and be possibly the best player on a team that nobody believes in at this point in time. But as you can see, you're going to be coming back with Raequan Battle, Kirk Creasy. You saw Raequan Battle in person last year. You know what he can do. Well, guess what? We're adding him to the fold, along with you and Kirk Creasy, who led the Pac-12 in assists last year. And so that's what we're selling him on, and the potential of that with him, and obviously Jesse Edwards, who was the fourth-ranked player in the portal.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, Jesse Edwards isn't getting double and triple teamed anymore. And then what do you do? So that's what you sell him on. And oh, by the way, we play Kansas State January 9th and February the 26th if you want your getbacks. Not many other teams can offer you that. So to me, and what I've been told is this is very personal for Nae'qwan Tomlin now. So
I'm sure it is. And
we'll
the one thing that concerns me, obviously, the competition from the other major programs, but when he look at this team, they're 3-5. Their chances of making the NCAA tournament has gotten a lot, or the hill to climb to get to the NCAA tournament is a whole lot steeper now. They're basically going to have to be phenomenal in Big 12 conference play to even get in. They can't lose, but probably 5 or 6 more games the rest of the way, man. Think about it. So would that deter him from coming? I don't know. I mean, we don't know what the young man's thinking. Don't know how much that would mean to him. But I do like what you said, and that's an opportunity to build something special and to pull this team out of the ashes, so to speak, from where they are right now.
Absolutely.
And real quick, the last storyline, which we probably won't spend a whole lot of time on, is what Paul mentioned earlier, and that's the fact that the West Virginia basketball program is planning to bring on somebody and add them to this roster. Like Paul said, if we're not able to get Nae'qwan Tomlin, they'll probably get somebody else. They obviously won't be at the level of a Nae'qwan Tomlin necessarily, but at least it'll be another body. Hopefully, somebody that can give some of these other guys breathers, let them rest, and not the team not take a major step backwards when they're not on when this player's on the floor. I don't know who that'll be. According to the articles that are out there, they're looking at either a shooting guard or a big. And like Paul and I were talking before the show, man, I like the idea of a shooting guard because Seth Wilson just has been in a major slump lately. For whatever reason, he's not shooting the ball like he needs to shoot it as far as taking shots. He's just not even taking shots when he has them a lot of times, which, that's what he's out there for. He's a shooter. They need him to shoot the ball. If they could get another body at that position, maybe let him come off the bench, take some pressure off of him. Maybe he plays better, What do you think?
I think he probably would. Yeah. I think it's pressure. It's what it is.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Kobe as well.
Kobe's played well.
He's played well.
One of the three.
But it would also give him the opportunity to get more rest and wouldn't have to play, 30, 35 minutes a game.
And he would be a good scorer against second string players, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He's done well against starters, but I think if you bring him off the bench, I think he would flourish in that role. I really do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And even if he stays in the starting lineup, again, you have somebody there. If they bring somebody else in, obviously, you have somebody there to dispel him and give him some breathers.
And he might stay in the starting lineup with Raequan and Kirk. Be a good guard-led lineup, but he can't shoot. That's his biggest downfall. Yeah. If he had any kind of jump shot at all, it'd be a no-brainer.
Right.
Unfortunately, he just hasn't developed that.
Yeah.
And it's really bad too. It's really bad.
Yeah. Well, Paul, is there anything else you want to talk about regarding these three topics here?
Outside of myself, nothing.
You want to talk about yourself? Go right ahead.
Don't forget to subscribe to Mountaineer Paul Talks Football.
His name's, here's his biography. His name is Paul Rockwell. He lives in, no, I'm kidding. Yeah, everybody subscribe to this channel here. Again, we forgot to ask you to do that early in the video. One of these days we'll remember that. It might be our last show, but we will remember it one of these days. Please hit the thumbs up button. Please drop a comment below. Let us know what you think about potentially getting Raequan back. Let us know. I want to hear what you guys think about Nae'qwan Tomlin. Do you think it's a big risk to bring in a guy who's been in legal trouble? Or do you think it's worth the risk? Me personally, where this team is right now, you go get him. You don't have a lot to lose at this point, do you?
No.
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 And if Jerome Tang was wanting to bring him back, which is my understanding, Jerome Tang's a man of high character, and I trust his judgment. And if he felt like the young man should be back on the team, then I feel good about it. And there's a lot more things out there he could have done that are worse than a bar fight. Let's be honest. So, anyway, like, share, comment, subscribe. Do the same to Mountaineer Paul Talks Football. Do the same to Couz's Corner if you haven't yet. Guys, we thank you for your support of the show. Thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for doing all that stuff that we asked you to do. With that being said, we're done.